All right, okay. Maybe we don't get a title here. We're still trying to working through everything right now. Welcome to the Power Hour, the first ever digital Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you, Richie Giuliano at the bottom. At the bottom, we have Tristan Reynolds, who is being safe in the car. I think. Obviously, he's on his way to get a haircut, and then we have the legend, our guest for today. It is Billy McCartney. Billy, what's up?
How you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Living the dream, one day at a time.
You look like it. You got the Jordan sneaker behind you, repping the Jays. Richie, Richie's got a library behind him, looking astute. And Tristan is teaching people how to not text and drive, but vlog and drive here on YSN.
Different.
It's a little different background. It's a little different background. Guys, a lot of sports news going on. Obviously, the headlines are the name change. Obviously, the Cleveland Indians, the Redskins down in Washington, all under the everybody getting the pressure to change their name from the mainstream media and, of course, from different sources all over the map. Thoughts on the Washington and Cleveland? Are they the same? Are they different? Who, what, when, where, and why? Richie, you're an Indians fan, so we'll start with you.
Well, I think they're completely different. I think the Redskins is definitely different than the Indians because I think the Indians are kind of honoring who the Native Americans are. They already got rid of Chief Wahoo, so we have now established as the Indians organization that they do not represent Chief Wahoo anymore, which was gotten rid of a couple of years ago. And they're just the Indians. I mean, it's not making fun of anybody. I just think it's honoring, the Native American culture, and it has so much history in its name. I mean, you talk about the 90s and their runs and the World Series appearances. The new field was built when the Indians were their name, and now, I mean, it's multiple generations that are getting to experience the Indians. So I think changing it now is definitely a hard hit to Cleveland.
Billy, you're a big baseball fan. Talk to me about your stance on this. Do you feel it's a little bit different with Washington and Cleveland, or do you feel that it's pretty much locked on?
I think it's best to just move forward here at this point. I really do. I think times are changing. I can understand trying to keep it as a Cleveland native as well, but I'm good going back to some old school stuff. The Spiders, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. And it's a good time to kind of hit reset, change, and build a new culture there.
And then we move on to the guy with Chief Wahoo on his hat. It is Tristan Reynolds, who always carries a fantastic point of view. T, what do you think?
I'm not for it, but I think it's inevitable. I think little by little, you're going to see it be changed, not because people have the say in it. I just think, like I said, it's inevitable. I just think it's going to happen.
So if it happens, what I mean, you guys have some names that you'd want to see, and I know Richie, you're not in favor of it at all. But if it were to change, is there some names that you'd support in your new team?
Well, I think the Spiders is at the top because that was the first name of the Cleveland franchise in general. Guardians, I don't like. I've heard some rumors about that, but I think
Guardians of the Galaxy. I like that.
Pick. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of any of the names that I've heard around the social media platform except for the Spiders, just because we have some history in that name. It's our first name that was in the organization's belonging in Major League Baseball. So I wouldn't be I wouldn't say I would be happy to see that name, but I don't know. I think that's the only one I'd be able to settle with.
Billy, what about you? Spiders, you on board with it?
Yeah, I'm cool with the Spiders.
Is there any other one that you'd want to see?
Get creative. Be creative. That's the best way I could put it. Is if somebody put a poll out there and let if the Indians do it right and they really want to get excited about it, put a poll out there and do a fan favorite type.
I agree with
it. No one's gonna get creative though. I mean, they're scared. People are scared. So there's this fine line right now that we're walking, and because names are changing, I don't think they're gonna get creative. I think they're just gonna.
Well, you can get creative behind a poll. You can control it, right? So you don't have to take the winner of the poll. You could say, hey, put out a bunch of things there. We're going to pick something. And then they can take it to their PR team and say, hey, what's this look like? How's this feel? What do you like? Do a little testing out there. Hey, how does this name relate to the community? Is there anything good, bad, and different that we could do? And then boom, here it is. And then the Indians or Cleveland can basically say, hey, we took one of your guys' things, we tested it out, came back, and the numbers said, hey, we're good, or no, we're not good, and boom.
Do you think there's pressure on Cleveland now to change their name, and if they don't, they feel like they're doing a disservice to their fans or to the Native American fan base?
I think I think they're gonna get ahead of it before it even comes to a head. So I think they're gonna jump on it even before people like are saying, "Oh no, you got to change your name," because they already hit it with the Chief Wahoo. I mean, you know what I mean? They had to do away with the logo, and that was their decision. I feel like before their hand is pressed, I feel like they're gonna make the decision by themselves.
Speaking of walking a line, what is that on top of your lip? Is that a mustache? Is that a what are we trying to do there?
I call it the flavor saver.
We're not even going to get into that. We're not even. I'm hoping you're talking about a popsicle because otherwise we don't want to hear about it.
It is, yeah. Ice cream, popsicle.
Is that new? Is that something over the 4th of July? You felt the freedom to make a mustache on top of your lip there, or what is that?
Well, I'm going back to base this weekend, so you can facial hair wise, the only thing you have is a mustache, and never had a mustache, so I kind of want to see where this goes.
I love it. And you're in a barbershop or outside of a barbershop right now. We're gonna have two different Tristans that show up. So I'm excited to see the before and after shot live here on the Power Hour for the first time ever. So make sure you take that lid off before so we can get a before shot, and then we'll do another screenshot after.
I got you.
If you guys, I mean, some of the ones that we've been talking about have been, I've heard the Rockers, which was a WNBA franchise. Cindy Parker's calling you Tom Selleck, by the way. On let's see if we can pop that up real quick. Yeah, little Tom Selleck right there for Tristan. I love it. I've heard the Guardians as well. I've heard the Spiders. Some popular ones, the Steamers, which I'm a huge fan of for so many different reasons. I've heard, of course I am, because I think it's funny. I think that baseball, they do it in the minor leagues all the time. Why not bring it to the majors? I've also heard.
Oh, I just got that.
Yeah, the Cleveland Steamers. Yeah, that's right. I think it'd be fantastic. Some of the other ones that
Pittsburgh guys should not get a vote.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, forget you guys then.
You're going to want the worst name possible.
What?
You're going to want us to have the worst name possible. So there's another thing you could add onto your list of making fun.
Oh, I can see the memes out now for the Cleveland Steamers right now.
Listen, you could do it. You could do it right. Like there's going to be. I would buy Cleveland Steamers gear straight up. Like if it's still red, white, and blue, and it's just a train or something like the Express, I'd be all about it. I'd be a huge advocate for it. I mean, because you can take a funny thing and make it a serious thing. Really, you look at it and you roll onto it. So I'm hearing here you go, Anthony chiming in from Kansas City. The Cleveland Crusaders rolls off the tongue for him. I can get behind the Crusaders. I can get behind that. There's some, you know what I heard one, and this is just I think this is just an amateur comment, but it made a lot of sense to me. The Cleveland Scrappers, given the state that the Scrappers may not be on the comeback, you take the Scrappers, which is one of your single A ball clubs, and you run it up the chain and you pay homage to them. A little bit of Youngstown in that, so I can get behind it. What do you guys think about that?
I'd be a fan of that. I mean, it's a team that I've watched probably my whole life down in Niles, so I could definitely get behind that, but I don't know about the people outside of Youngstown.
I don't know. I mean, I like it, obviously, but I just don't know if it's going to.
I think it fits Cleveland. I really do. I think that brings back to that blue collar. We're scrappy town, Cleveland. I mean, basically all Northeast Ohio, all scrappy blue collar. I mean, I can get behind that.
Robert Switzka saying the Cleveland Muck Dogs. Batavia is a minor league, so.
I was going to say, I think that's a minor team, yeah.
So then you got to go with something, not just a name. You got to go with something that you can find a logo for too, though. So we're talking about names. You got to find something.
Everybody's like, I guess my thing is like everybody's trying to be serious about this. You know what I mean? Like everybody's trying to be like the Cleveland Empire. Like everybody wants a strong name. Like get something goofy that people can adopt and can love. You know what I mean? Like that's huge. And here's the other thing, and all three of you are Indians fans. So let me ask you this: if Cleveland completely changes up and goes away from the red, white, and blue, is that gonna are you going to have a harder time transferring from the old team to the new team, or are you still going to get behind it?
The colorway, you can't replace the colorway. I mean,
Well, the Cavs have about 300 times.
well, that's
Yes,
because
you
Cavs.
can.
So it's one of those things. Like, I mean, Billy, would you get behind the Cavs or behind the Indians or whatever team that would be?
I think if you change the name, you should change everything. Do a total reconstruction of everything.
Well, what colorway are you going to pick?
Well, you can pick whatever. There's all kinds of colors in the rainbow. You know, you can pick whatever you like.
You would go to rainbow.
So if they let's think about this, because somebody brought up the Cleveland Lakers, because originally it was the Minneapolis Lakers or the Minnesota Lakers or whatever that was, and then they moved to Los Angeles where there's no lakes. So would it make sense, being on a lake, that the Cleveland become the Lakers?
I don't know. I feel like you have to have a different name than somebody else, and whether it's the MLB, the NBA, NHL, whatever it is, you have to have a different name than some team in professional sports. So I don't like the Lakers because, you know, Los Angeles already has it. So I heard a lot of things about, you know, the Cleveland Panthers too, and it's like, why would you do that? There's already a team in professional sports that has the Panthers.
There's so many cats. Like what? Like what's with the cats, man? Like cats don't play baseball.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no more Lions, Panthers, Eagles, Hawks. Get rid of all those are out.
See you later. Like get the cats out of it. I mean,
I think if you're gonna change it, it's got to be creative, and it's got to be something that somebody.
It'd be
else
pretty
doesn't
dope
have.
if they just said Cleveland. Yeah, we're here.
The Cleveland,
Just Cleveland.
the Cleveland, like we play on the Ohio State.
they just changed it to Cleveland to the land. Like I think that'd be
I'd like
pretty
that.
sweet.
that'd
That would be cool too.
That'd be cool.
I love that.
Could
that'd
they be
be
the
cool.
first team to ever just not have a mascot? It's just the land.
The land,
Like
and then the sky view in the back, the skyline or whatever.
that'd be pretty
As,
sweet.
like, the mascot.
fan.
That'd be. I
I'd
mean,
be a
not
fan
mascot,
of
but as like your go-to logo. That'd be pretty cool.
So, I mean, from that standpoint, we take a step from the majors and professional down to the amateur status in high schools. With the Indians changing their name, guys, there's a lot of conversation about high schools starting to
We're on
change
the
their
chopping block.
mascot. So, what do you do if you're, an Indian or a Rebel, Tristan? We talked about this before, and now I'm hearing the Raiders. Warren G. Harding is being petitioned to change their name. Are we seeing the beginnings of some weird happenings here in America that's going to really funnel down locally?
I think so. I mean, years and years and years ago, and I mean, they've always talked about it. You know, just being a long time Cressy Rebel. The Ravens got thrown out. You know, as a name, there's been multiple different ones. They even talked about changing our colors. It's you know, they got rid of the Rebel flag out there. It's like I said. I think it's. I don't want to say anything, but I think it's inevitable as it comes down. You know what I mean? I think. I don't know.
Can you guys see the things that
Yeah.
pop up? Luke Schuster,
Cleveland Wiener Dogs.
the Cleveland Wiener Dogs. So
We get a free hot dog when we go in. Or
that's it.
Yeah, they already
Okay.
give it to you for free on Fridays.
Well, there you go. You got Buck Night. You can have Buck Wieners, and you're good. You know, I don't think that's any worse than the Cleveland Steamers, but that's just me. I mean, I'm on board with it.
Yeah.
I'll lead the charge for the Cleveland Steamers. That's where I would go.
I'll be behind that. I second that. I like that.
The Buckeyes
It
is the
took-
one I've
it took
heard
me
too.
Like 10 minutes to pick it up, but I like it.
Well, you got other
Leave the
things on your
Buckeyes
mind.
alone.
Yeah, I'm agree with you. The Buckeyes, you leave that alone. Do not touch it.
Yeah, you have to.
That is sacred ground in
Yeah,
Ohio.
you
Leave that
do-
to Columbus.
Yeah, you do not want to. You don't want to go down that street. I'll be interested to see how they get. Here's another one, the Cleveland Crusaders. We heard that one. That seems to be a popular one, the Crusaders.
I like that one.
But
Yeah, I like it.
there's going to be
What
some
was the
issues.
colors, though?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, you can. I mean, yeah.
There's
But
gonna
I
be
do like that one.
I mean, if you're putting the Raiders on an X, the Crusaders are probably not far behind that,
They're
right?
next.
Yeah.
I
Probably.
thought that when Anthony posted that, I think, again, it's inevitable. Down the line, that's going to go too, if it was a Crusaders.
If you're the Indians, do you completely step out of the circle on this one? Do you you don't? The tribe is one I'm hearing. Like, you don't want to just kind of color over it and put white out on. You want to step completely out of the circle, correct?
Yeah, I
there's
think
no
you have
fun
to.
making
Yeah.
try. because it's the same thing. I mean, people are going to be mad if you make it the tribe. I mean, what's the difference between the tribe and the Indians? I mean, there's not really much.
A tribe is a group of people, not necessarily Native American descent. But,
Yeah, but
I see your
they
point.
associate us with the tribe, you know?
Yeah.
So when you think
I like
about
the
it, the
stars. I
tribe
like that.
is an Indian tribe.
Yep.
So
Cleveland
if you get rid of the
Stars.
Indians, then you're just a tribe. I mean, it's just.
I like the logo for that would be sweet with like a C with a star hanging out or something. That'd be pretty cool.
And
Or
then
even
you
in the
have
middle of the block.
Once again, though,
Dirty
you got
Muskies.
Dallas Stars, so it's like.
I like this guy.
you can always count on Luke Schuster to stir things up with it. The Dirty Muskies. All right. We'll have Luke on. That's inevitable. That's going to happen, and he'll probably our ratings will drop, our sponsorships will drop because Luke will burn this place down and then build it up and then burn it back down just because he could. Locally, do you think that the other shoe is going to drop for some of these teams? You look at Southern, you look at Girard. We talked about Warren Harding. If the Raiders in Warren are getting hit, does that mean that the Raiders in South Range take a hit as well? You know, is it fair for these schools to have to change over into new territory?
It's not. I don't want to say it's fair, but with everything that's going on, people's hands are going to get forced here. And it's either, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and be called the bad guy, or are you going to go try to change it, become the good guy? But at the end of the day, did you really do the right thing? So it's hard.
I agree with you. We got a comment here. Robert Switka says, LOL, I think, just think the whole name-changing sports teams in general is over the top, taken way out of proportion, rewriting history now when the names and so much history and tradition. It's a shame. I can't say I disagree with them. Yeah. I'm kind of all in. Now, I understand the Redskins one completely, right? That's one that probably should have been done away with a long time ago. But you know, when you're little, you play what? Cowboys and Indians. So if you're going to get rid of the Indians, should you have to get rid of the Cowboys too? Like that's a question for me.
So.
Like I just don't
play on it. You're right. It's like a play on words almost. People are going to play on it.
Yeah, I don't understand where it stops. Like if you start this thing, this is Pandora's box, and it opens up and it doesn't close, right? You know, because Gators could be offended that they're not the crocodiles, and it just like it could get really ugly for a lot of teams. Now on the other side, this is a marketing opportunity, as we talked about on Ron's show today. It's a marketing opportunity for the Indians, and that's what they're thinking of. Like, make no mistake about it. They've sold all the Indians garb they possibly could in the last 100 years or however long they've been around. Now they can be the Spiders or whoever and flip all that money, sell jerseys, sell hats, sell whatever they need to do.
Merch,
oh, by the way,
baby.
They still have the rights to the Indians logo, so the people that are still pissed can still wear their Indians gear, and they can wear it too. Yeah, it's smart.
Yep.
So, I mean, are people going to give you dirty looks if you wear Indians gear at a game? If you're ever allowed to go back, I guess.
I don't think so. I mean, you're going to get some, but it's like anything you do. Like, if I go to an Indians game, I'm gonna wear my hat, my Chief Wahoo hat. I'm gonna wear all my stuff because one, I bought it, so I'm gonna wear it. Duh. But two, like, you're gonna get people that are like, oh, that's offensive, and then if you wear the new stuff, people will be like, oh, hell no, you better be wearing the old stuff. You better be, if you're a supporter, you better support us when we were there and all that stuff.
Hey, just the funny thing, while we're on the Cleveland thing, we need to change the Browns' names too. Just get rid of the Browns.
No, I think that goes into the Cleveland Steamers name. I think that'd be perfect. It all flows together.
I'd rather have the get rid of the Browns too. You can change history, rewrite it all you want. I mean, Cleveland doesn't have this great championship pedigree anyway, so let's just change it and then something to look forward to in the next generation.
This is interesting. The Florida State works with the Seminole Tribe and established a scholarship program for students from the reservation. Any chance they change that, or do you think some teams will go this route? I think Florida State did a very good thing in doing that and protected themselves from a lot of this. Whereas, like, what are the Indians going to do? Like, give season tickets to some Native Americans? Like, well, I don't know how you connect the dots. Is there a way that the Indians could do that and successfully, represent heritage? I don't know.
It's tough, man. Like your hands are tied. I always say this. It always comes back to being an umpire. Whatever choice they make, it's going to be the wrong one in some people's eyes, and it's going to be the right one in some people's eyes.
I agree with you, 100%. Richie, is this something where where the Indians could reach out and is it worth them reaching out, or would they rather just change their names and make an extra couple bucks?
Well, from my perspective, I think it is worth reaching out because there's hundreds of thousands of fans that support the Indians and don't want the change of the name. So my perspective would be, will they lose some fans based on the name change? Because I've already talked to multiple people saying they will not support this team if they will change their name to something erotic. And
until they start winning again.
Bingo.
Maybe.
Winning heals all wounds.
I mean,
come on now.
Personally, I'm still going to root for the team no matter what. Doesn't matter if they change their name or not. But I do know some people that will not root for the team, and that could be a problem coming forward because the Indians struggle getting people in the ballpark from the get-go. Now you're changing the name. People have to reestablish their fanship with the name as well as his team. So it's definitely tough. I know this year there's no fans in the ballpark.
Are you ready for this one? Paul Munson chiming in. This is going to be interesting. The teams could say they will give a percentage of merch sales to the Indian tribes. I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, that's an avenue you could go down, but I don't know. I'm with you on this, Yoke. I don't know.
Greedy owners, man.
Here's another great question: does Major League become a banned movie because they have the Indians?
So that brings me to my question: what are you going to do when Omar Vizquel finally gets in the Hall of Fame? He played for the Cleveland blank. You're not going to.
He played for Cleveland. He played for the land. That's where
they already changed. The Tommy had the C. He didn't do the Wahoo thing. So you're going to do the same thing. Whatever they are at that point, that's how they're going to go in.
Well, they'll just have the Cleveland. Cleveland always had, or the Indians always had the road Cleveland, right? So that's if he ever gets let's say he gets a statue, that's how he'll be represented. He just won't have the Indians across his chest anymore. That's going to be interesting, and that's something that a lot of people won't pick up. And Richie, for all your friends that are jumping off the Indians bandwagon, they're always welcome over here, baby. The water's warm in Pittsburgh.
If they start winning, if they were to go to the next 3 World Series, those same fans will be rooting for the Indians, or whatever they're called.
We're gonna mute Tristan. Tristan's having side convos at the barbershop. Hey, do this for me. Don't go off. We're gonna keep you on while we'll let your barber get a free plug on YSN if you get a haircut on YSN Power Hour.
Okay.
Let's do that. And we'll keep you on. Just if it gets too loud, we'll mute you. That way that we can keep the conversation going. So let's do that. So that way we have something interesting going on in the bottom left-hand corner while we're still talking. So hey, we got breaking news out of Kansas City, and it just so happens Anthony Hartwig is in Kansas City at the same time this is happening. The Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes reached a 10-year contract extension that will keep him signed through 2031. Huge. Wow. The dollar amount has not been disclosed yet. But you got to believe it is going to be a lot of money. Back the Brinks truck up. And now does that put Kansas City in? I mean, that's the conversation. Does it put Kansas City in a bad place because now they can't afford so many people? That number hasn't come out yet, but I'm interested to see what will come of that. So Michael Page saying it's got to be $400 million. It has to be. Has to be. And I got to agree with him. It's for him to sign this soon, it's got to be a big number where if he took another day, it wasn't going to work.
No, they probably threw the franchise at him. Here you go, just own the team. You be the owner, you take it.
Sunken pirate ships on the river there, DJ Laws in the past decade. You're right. If they ever take away the Pirates name, like I'll be sad, but I'd be more interested because I think that's just more Pirates gear for me. They finally came back to the script Pittsburgh, which got me back on board full time. Bought my own custom jerseys, did all that stuff. If they took away the Pirates now, I would be so pissed, so mad. I would storm Bob Nutting wherever he is, and I would take him down like you wouldn't believe. It'd be like Rambo. That's what it would be.
See, now you feel like how we feel with the Indians. Nobody wants the Indians to change their name. I mean, it's just how it is.
But if you change your name, you're going to win a championship. I'm 99% certain about this. That's the way it works in professional sports. Change your name.
I'm in.
Yeah, if that were the key, Richie, if that were it, if you were guaranteed a world championship, but you could never be called the Indians ever again, would you sign up for that deal?
Can we win one with the Indians?
Nope.
You're always going to be second place.
what's the point of even watching it if you know you're not going to win?
Exactly.
win,
So
baby.
welcome to the Pirates world.
But listen, changing your team name has nothing to do with resulting in a championship.
You want to bet? You want to bet?
Yes. 100%.
I'll bet you. I'll bet you. If the Indians change their name, they win a championship within 10 years.
All right. Well, I want them to win a championship, so I'm not going to bet against my team winning a championship. But at the same time, jersey sales isn't always everything. I mean, the Indians make
Or you should, and it's a win-win.
in jersey sales.
Listen,
But
somebody
TV
said the
deals
Pirates,
is where they get most of the money.
the sponsorship deals are where the
Yes.
most of the money comes from.
All right, sponsorship and TV.
But let me ask you this: how much
That's
more
the-
sponsorship are you going to get for not being associated with the Native Americans that are pissing people off? That's the key
Who knows?
that people aren't thinking about, because there's some people that don't touch that just because.
Well, FedEx, the sponsor of the Redskins, already told them, like, hey, we want a name change. But I haven't heard anything about the Indian sponsors and Progressive saying that they want the Indians to change their name.
No, they're not saying it outright, but behind closed doors, there's probably a lot that go like, well, guys, if we're associated with the Indians and there's a mass protest downtown, we don't want our name on any of the billboards. Like that's what goes into corporate advertising, right? You don't want negative connotations to things you sponsor. We're in the same boat. Like if we do something really bad on here, we're not going to get a whole lot of sponsorships. But if we do good work, as we do, we're going to get a ton of sponsorships across the area. So, I'm interested to see if the Indians decide to change their name and push it aside, if more sponsorships come in, and if they can even charge more for those sponsorships, or they get bigger sponsorship packages.
Well, I think it's tough this year. I mean, if they were going to make a decision on a name change, I would think it would have to be after the season. Because you're not going to be getting as many sponsorships now anyway, because there's nobody going to be in the stadium.
You're right.
Gonna be on
You're going to get digital sponsorships is what you're going to get, but the TVs will get that. That'll be for them. Do teams just go to the city as the name and mascots are a thing of the past? Listen, it's not the worst idea. It really isn't.
Like you just said, the land. That's what it's going to be. The land, Cleveland, the land.
I think a lot of people get behind it, because if you're just Cleveland or you're just Pittsburgh, I think there's something behind that. But at the same time, the reason that they're the Pittsburgh Pirates, because you want to identify yourself, and it's marketing, right? You're marketing to different people, and you can sell your own gear, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like whenever you see Pittsburgh or Cleveland, it's like the third-rate people that are like just printing T-shirts. You know what I mean? Like they're afraid to get copyright infringement, so they just slam Pittsburgh baseball, pop. And then you don't have to spend $58. You got to spend $5. So interesting enough. I'm here. Oh, here's Michael Page. Here's an interesting. The Cleveland Rocks, like the song.
I don't like that at all. I just don't.
Cleveland Rock.
So
Who's going to coach the team? Drew Carey. There we go.
Come on down. The Cleveland Lake Monsters do a duet with the Sea Monsters, the hockey team. I don't know, man.
Well,
Monsters are like for little kids.
Every Cleveland team is going to be named essentially probably the same thing. Every Pittsburgh team is going to be named the same thing. Every Texas team is going to be named the same thing. I mean, I feel like that's where it's going. Or like you just said, it's just going to be like Pittsburgh baseball, Pittsburgh football.
Yeah, I could if it wasn't Steeler football, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way about Browns football. Like, although Billy doesn't like the name, the Browns, so it'd be interesting to see. You might get behind this Cleveland football.
I hate the colors. I hate the idea of the Browns. I just wish it was all new. It's all bad juju for me.
What would you want the Cleveland Browns to be?
Anything but the Browns.
What would you want their colors to be?
I couldn't care. Not orange and brown.
As someone who has been in brown and orange for
it could literally be anything else but orange and brown. Like, what's the history of the Cleveland Browns losing?
What if they said, listen, what if they said Billy McCartney
comes on?
Billy McCartney went on Power Hour and said we could be any color but brown and orange, and we've decided on pink and purple. We are now the unicorns, the Cleveland Unicorns. You would rock at
Rather be that.
Wow. And I thought I disliked brown and orange.
I just listen. All right. My biggest argument is you get these people who are in their 40s, 50s, and even a little bit older, and they talk about the tradition of the Cleveland Browns. They wear the all white stuff. What they win? They didn't win anything since Jim Brown's here. Sorry, Bernie didn't win anything. Okay, we love Bernie. Bernie's great. Okay, but that was 30 years ago.
Can you put your address up so people can riot at your house and not here at headquarters?
I am in East Palestine.
Oh, how dare you! How dare you say Palestine? You son of a bee. That's fighting words. Michael Ann Warner saying Slippery Rock University is just called the Rock in sports. Yes, they have a lion mascot, but they aren't Rockies or Lions, etc. During football, the announcer just says touchdown Rock. It's true. It's true. I dig it. But it's interesting, like we are now in an era where, as Darren Miller said, we might just start going to where we're from, the location, So it's, touchdown Crestview, touchdown, whatever, Warren G. Harding, touchdown South Range. But it's hard because especially as us as announcers, the first time you do it, imagine if there was if it was just Youngstown State University. It's not the Penguins. So what do you do? It's just touchdown YSU or home run YSU.
Here's the question: how much money do you think it takes to change your name?
I'm gonna hop off real quick though. I'm gonna talk to him because I gotta have a conversation, and I'll hop back on when I'm almost cleaned up. Here's whatever this is.
That's the before.
Love y'all.
All right, bye T.
What do you think the money is for like a high school team to change their name?
Well,
or high school,
it's a ton. It's an absolute ton
because that's going to matter whether or not you change your name. I mean, you look at, I've been at small schools, so like I went to Newton Falls. I coached at Bristol. I'm a small school guy now, Ursuline, but Bristol wouldn't change their name if it costs too much. They're not going to do it.
Listen, I'm with you 100% because here's the thing. You look at the end zones now. You get the turf. It's painted. You look at the floor. Beautiful floors all over for basketball. You never really have the city. Newton Falls does, and they have one of the most beautiful basketball courts I've ever seen at a high school level. But like for East Palestine, that's a Bulldog. For Crestview, they did away with the rebel flag, which I think they were ahead of this. They were very progressive in this. But like if let's say they did have a rebel flag somewhere, they'd have to get that changed now. It would have to be completely out of their budget, get it changed. So luckily for them, they continued with the CR campaign, the interlocked CR. Michael Ann Warner chiming in saying she's against an Indians name change until she hears the Indians win it. The Indians win it. Oh my God, the Indians win it in real life. Richie, that's probably kind of more up your alley. You want to hear that, and then anything that happens. We've already learned that Cleveland fans are okay with just one championship and moving on after the Cavs won and LeBron left. Like, we never heard a peep after LeBron left like we did the first time. That's all you want? You just want to hear the Indians win it, and you're okay with that?
Yeah, I just want to win.
And then you can be the Cleveland Muskies or whatever, Dirty Muskies.
Whatever's next, whatever they come up with. Spiders.
I would love to hear it too. Don't get me wrong. Win, I'm in.
Do you think that we now move to a situation? Washington has not been called the Redskins publicly for about 2 or 3 years. Do you think now that the Indians are in the spotlight for this, do you think maybe more teams just call them Cleveland now? Or do you think they still fall back on the Indians outside of just the Indians broadcasts?
Yeah, I don't know. That's really tough to tell because the Redskins, like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, it's a completely different name than the Indians. So I can understand why the public would not want to address the Redskins name, but the Indians is a little bit different. So I don't know. It's tough to tell. We're in a weird spot right now with the coronavirus and the pandemic and everything going on. So there's just a lot going on, and it's a very weird situation. There's going to be no fans. Everything's going to be televised. So it's different. I think all of this will happen after the conclusion of the 2020 season.
I agree.
Are the Indians getting that much heat like the Washington team is?
I mean,
yes and no.
It depends where you're at. Because
I mean, locally we would hear about it more than nationally, don't you think? Or no, different? Because nationally we hear about Washington every year. My friends who live in other states don't have an opinion or haven't heard any kind of heat on the Cleveland Indians as an organization.
Well, it's interesting. I think that a lot of this came from the Indians made that transition and got rid of Chief Wahoo, as we've already established. I think they took a lot of the heat out of the kitchen when they did that. because
was that enough or no?
That's the question. That's the underlying question, because I thought the term Indians was derogatory. I thought it was a bad word. But if it's not the Indian's name and it's just the imagery, then I'm confused. I'm confused all over again, because I thought it was, you're not allowed to say Indians because you're supposed to say Native Americans, and it's the same as if you say this about this and this about that. Like, that's where I'm confused on this, because first off, I'm not any part Native American, and I don't know, so I just don't know. I'd have to interview one or talk to one to understand where they're at. But like Indian fans, they seem like they're okay with the transition out of. I mean, some people are still butthurt about Chief Wahoo going away because that's heritage and this is our team. And if I would have done this, then listen, you're not, okay. The majority of us are not Native American in this country. It's just fact. So what they want to do, what they feel comfortable with, is up to them. And if they feel comfortable with people saying Indians and just not seeing Chief Wahoo, then let's go. But I'm kind of at the point, and this probably is an unpopular opinion, not so much about you guys, but maybe out there in social media land. I'm at the point where if you are not part of who is being offended, shut up. Like, stop. Like, get out of there. Like, you shouldn't speak for them, because you're not them. You know what I mean? You're not associated with them for them. But like, just let them make the call. Because if somebody came up to me and said, hey, it's going to be like Poe was making the Yankees argument today. And I said, there is a list of at least 400 names that if somebody called me a Yankee, I would be offended before they called me a Yankee. Like, call me, okay, whatever. I would laugh. Like, if somebody, like, real sternly, like, can you imagine somebody coming up to you and saying, all right, Yankee. And then, like, all right, man. Like, I'm sorry.
Right.
We won. It's one of those things, like, you talk about the Confederate flag. We won. Like, you lost your reason to fly it anymore, unless you want to fly it as a second place trophy. Congratulations. Like, that's not how we do it. But that's just me.
Part of me looks at some of these names, like in baseball, like the Chiefs, the Indians, the Braves. Like, it's a way that you can celebrate that culture and keep. Now, if you take it all the way out, and 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, then what do you don't have anything. You don't have any Native American in sports at all.
I would be apt to see maybe if the Indians change their name to the Natives, like the Cleveland Natives. Like, I think that'd be a pretty sweet name.
Wouldn't be bad. Because you
real
keep all
sweet
your same gear pretty much. I mean,
yeah.
You change from natives across the chest, but you still have the same colors. You still have the C. You could still have like our tribe. That's
That'd be a good transition.
I would love that. I think there's a lot of people that could get behind the Natives. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's not derogatory in any means. It pays homage and pays tribute, Billy, like you were saying. And again, you don't have to change a whole lot, but you can still sell the merchandise. You can still get the marketing piece out of it, and you look like you're doing the right thing. It appears as if, even if you're doing it just for reasons that are selfish, you're doing the right thing. But I still think this goes completely to the right. I think it goes completely, hey, we're going to change everything we do about everything that we do, and we're going to be the Cleveland Bullfrogs. Something crazy like that, where it's going to make a lot of people upset, more than maybe are now, because of the heritage of what the Indians mean to them as a family, as as friends and stuff like that. Like, do you remember when we went to the Indians game? Oh, I mean the Bullfrogs game. It just there's a lot of things that people that have teams don't want to give up, because it is part of their family. Richie, you're a huge case. I never see you without Indians gear unless you're wearing YSU or YSN gear.
Exactly. I mean, it's literally a part of my life. It is my life. I mean, I watch pretty much every game, 162 of them. It's who I am. Everybody connects me with the Cleveland Indians because that's just who I am. And for them to change their name is heartbreaking. I mean, it's plain and simple. It's just heartbreaking. You
see Michael McKenzie, the child prodigy, 16-year-old. I think they shouldn't seriously consider it unless they lose so many fans and sponsors because of the name. That is what made the Redskins consider the change. FedEx telling them to change or else they lose their biggest sponsor. Here's the thing.
He's basically saying it's about money.
Money makes the world go round. I also would be very interested, very, very interested, to see if there would be any sponsors that would dive into that. You know what I mean? As FedEx dives out, there's typically always someone that wants to make, and talk about free marketing. If you're the one that jumps in feet first or head first into this, and you're the new sponsor or title sponsor of wherever the Redskins play football, pretty interesting concept. You know what I mean? That could do some marketing, good and bad, for you as well. I think FedEx is trying to protect their tail, a little CYA, with this move. But it will. Let's be honest, guys. This was a power move by FedEx. This was an absolute power move that said, "Listen, if you don't do this, you're losing." And I don't know what the number is, so somebody will have to look that up and send it to us. But there's a lot of money on the table because FedEx Field has been the prime sponsor for the Washington Redskins home for a very long time.
Yeah, it kills them money-wise, and that's the exact reason that the Redskins have come out. They made the statement last week that they were thinking of doing a name change just because the pressure they have from outside and especially their biggest sponsor. And we mentioned a couple of times throughout the episode, everything's about money. And when you're losing your biggest sponsor, I mean, you're kind of just forced at that point to at least try and consider a name change.
Right.
Cleveland Aviators is another one that Michael Page is showing up. Guys, we're going to take a real quick break and shift gears back locally here when we come back. Talk about some teams that are going to be faced with the same things that the Cleveland Indians are facing. That is all that and more on our first digital episode of the YSN Power Hour. Richie Giuliano, as well as Billy Mack. We call him, that's what we call him. You can call him Max Baseball Academy on Twitter, and also you can follow at DJ Yoakley live on Twitter. We'll also have Tristan back. He's getting his hair cut. We're trying to get him to do it live. This is a little ad lib, but we'll see if we can get that. All that and more coming at you on the YSN Power Hour right after this. Maybe.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms. It just tastes better.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the YSN Power Hour. Before we get to our next topic, I want to show you guys the Raider Golf Classic, the 31st annual, held by the South Range Athletic Boosters, will be taking place on Friday, July 31st, 2020. It will be changed. It will be at the Flying Bee Golf Course instead of in Columbiana this year. So make sure you go out, register now, as soon as you can. I mean, this is huge. The Raider Golf Classic supporting South Range Athletics and obviously the athletes there. Again, register today. Go to RaiderGolf.com. Early registration, sponsorship discounts. Well, that has already passed, so don't worry about that. But it is sponsored by Nightline. Guys, we know, Rich, you're a golfer, aren't you? You a golfer?
Yeah.
You love golf.
Flying Bee is very nice. I played there like 4 or 5 times already this year. I like it.
Have you really?
It's nice.
What's the most challenging hole?
Oh, 10. 10 is so hard. It's par 4. There's a lake to the right of the green, and then the green has like multiple slopes. So it runs completely downhill, and if you hit it over the green, there's like a steep hill where you have to chip it over. So it's if you don't get it in the middle of the green, you're pretty much getting a bogey at that point, or more. Depends how good your chipping game is.
Our resident golfer, Richie Giuliano.
10 and 11 are very hard. 11's a long par 3. I think it's like 180, 185, and it's tough. It's like one of the hardest par 3s ever. So yeah, 10 and 11 to watch out.
We have a team in this, and I will put every dollar I have in the bank account that we won't win. There's not even a chance, not even close. We're just going to go out and have a good time and shake a few hands. And Steve Leslie, myself, who else is it? Quinn, and I think Todd is going. So it's 4 really bad golfers that are just going to represent YSN and try to see how many beers we can drink in an 18-hole span. So make sure you sign up for the I almost said YSN, trying to promote myself. The South Range Athletic Boosters golf outing, that is on July 31st. Go to RaiderGolf.com. Billy, are you a golfer at all?
I'm gonna go this year because Kate just got me a membership at the Lake Club. So I think I'm gonna go this weekend sometime. My brother's gonna come home, and he doesn't come home too much, so he's gonna come home, and he's a golfer. So figure I'll take him out there maybe.
Well, there you go, man. There you go. A new membership at the Lake Club. You got to be proud of that. That is, you want to talk about the finest establishment, like top notch. Not only just where it is, the people there are amazing. The people you can meet there are amazing. I know Ed Kiernan, my personal mentor, is a member and loves the Lake Club. Also Jeff Risnar, a member at the Lake Club, a good friend of mine. The Lake Club, I always say the Lake Club is where business gets done. So if you're a member of the Lake Club, it's either business on business or business in professional. So that's one of my goals one day is to be a Lake Club member. So I'm just trying to live that Billy McCartney life. Every day I wake up and I say, man, I want to be Billy McCartney. What do I got to do to shift gears here?
It's tough. You don't want that responsibility, man.
I don't. To be the first one out of the dugout to give high fives, that is a huge responsibility.
Listen, pitching coach, seriously. morale director.
That is what it is. That's the morale director.
Yep.
Can you be the morale? Can we hire you as the morale director of YSN? Is that possible? Is that feasible?
I'm here for you, DJ.
We can talk pennies after, but the morale director, we'll put you on there. We'll put you on the website. You can be the Billy the morale director. There's no problems with that. Let's see if we got any comments down here. Nope, just still Cleveland Aviators. Guys, we talked about the national stage with Cleveland, with Washington, D.C. The local stage, everything could shift. You know what I mean? Because I think there's going to be people coming out of the woodwork if people do decide to change names. We talked about Warren Harding. I mean, if those Raiders have to change, you have to believe South Range is going to be under pressure to change their name. And they're only 51 years old, is South Range this year. So you look at it and you go, what's the connotation? Raiders is a pirate. So if you're changing Raiders, then you should change Pirates. And if you're changing Pirates, then you should change everything. Bulldogs, there's got to be a Bulldog that's pissed off that East Palestine and Poland use it. Like what are you supposed to do anymore? Do you just go by East Palestine? Do you just go by colors? I mean, what do you do?
The more I think about this, go ahead.
What about Girard?
And Southern Local.
What you think about if the Indians have to change their name, you would definitely think that a high school would have to change their name. So that's always a question.
Colleges?
I mean, does Girard act off of what the Cleveland Indians do? I mean, that's a question that you could bring up as well.
And that's a question I'd love to talk to Nick Cochran about. I mean, that's one that would be interesting. I know there's such heritage in Girard about the Indians. You know, if there's one place that is out there and they love their mascot, they love what it stands for. There's so much history and a state championship run, a couple of years ago. That would be a tough sell. I really think that'd be a tough sell in Girard. I mean, but if the Indians are doing it, they point to you and they go, well, we're doing it. How about you? And for you to stand up and say no takes cajones, you know what I mean, as it's pronounced here in East Palestine. So I just don't. I don't know how you stand up to that. Is there if you're in their position, do you succumb to it or do you stand up to it?
I don't know. I mean, that's the question you have to ask, their whole board of directors and definitely after the Indians, if they would have to change their name, I think Girard would be forced to change their name to something else.
Girard, and you talk about Southern Local, and I mean, what if Tigers got offended by the being Tigers and not Jungle Cats, or you know what I mean? Like what do you do? What do you at what point do you stop? Like, can you just imagine a Tiger walking in, just putting its readers on and be like, gentlemen and ladies, come on, I'm not there, so I'm not offended personally, and I shouldn't be, but why now? Why all of a sudden? That's my thing is at what point does this stop? And if you're in that position, you have to, you have to. Like, superintendents are going to have to change their names and their in the school boards and associate, Richie, like you said. Billy, like, if you're on the school board and somebody says, hey, we need to change our name because the Indians are doing it, are you on board with that, or are you going to stand up and say why?
I'm going to need more information than just, hey, the Indians are changing their names. I don't think high school is going to be affected as much as this conversation is leading to. There's just too many things that high schools can't do. Now, one, like, high schools, for the most part, doesn't reach a national stage, so you're not offending, like, the people who are pushing the Redskins out is not going to be the same people pushing the Warren Harding Raiders out. You get what I'm saying? So the numbers isn't going to be as big, and you're not offending as many people, but what's that number? I guess the community needs to figure that out. I think this is more of a community decision than anything else. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about Gerard. Gerard needs to make, as a community, probably needs to make that decision as much as the people who are entrusted to make decisions for the school.
Yeah,
so they got to work together at some point. I'm
with you, man. I think that's one of those situations where the community has a right to the decision as much as anybody on a board or in the school. That's a dynamic. That's a great point. Absolutely great point. Let's shift gears to something we do have some control over and we are looking forward to, and that is Scene Park Baseball. We got the voice of Scene Park right there in the middle, Richie Giuliano. You've got Sundays and Mondays. You had a great outing last night. You've got 2 more great ones tonight. You're starting out with the Astro Falcons and Roth Brothers at 6 o'clock on Scene 1. You've seen both of these teams play, I believe. Be careful, because the guy to your left just happens to be a coach for them. And he's got a dog that's running around snapping his fingers at it. Richie, what do you see from the Astro Falcons that are currently 12-1 that you think is going to be the difference in tonight's matchup?
Well, Billy, I'm going to give you a quick shout out. I think the pitching is just unbelievable for the Astro Falcons. You guys have given up the least amount of runs out of anybody in the Youngstown Class B Baseball League by a landslide. So the pitching I've seen has been dominant. The starters, the bullpen, everything from top to bottom has been the difference for the Astro Falcons. Their lineup from top to bottom as well, with the amount of Division I recruits they have been fantastic. I think they have the lefties in their lineup when they face righties. That is the difference maker. First 3 guys in the lineup are all lefties. So, I mean, that's definitely tough to face as a pitcher. And then on the other side with Roth Brothers, I saw them at the very beginning of the year. I believe that was their first game when Mike Cifaldi got his recognition for his 50 years in the league. I mentioned on YSN, I think a few weeks ago, that they would be the team I thought that was able to turn around, and they have.
Sure have.
They're hot.
So far.
They're hot.
They're red hot. So I expect the Roth Brothers to continue that, and it's going to be a good matchup tonight. That's really all you can say. So that's the 5 o'clock start, and then 7:30 we have Prospects and Nightline, which are 2 teams that are battling in the mid-tier of the division. So that should be another good one.
Yeah, 8:30 Prospects versus Nightline on 1. Billy, you talked about Roth Brothers being hot. They are probably, outside of you guys, they are the hottest team in the league. They're sitting in 3rd place right now at 9-5. Pretty impressive, and they're doing some big things on the diamond. You've had a chance to look at them, have a chance to see them. What do you see that presents a challenge to your pitching staff tonight?
Well, with us, we take every game basically as it is and how our pitchers are. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing, throw strikes, play defense, not make stupid decisions or plays, and play Astro baseball, and we'll be in it. We'll have a chance to win at the end.
And keep in mind tonight we also have the 5:30 game, Avalanche versus Eagleware. That'll be on 3. Andrew, that'll be an no audio game from a broadcasting standpoint. And also the 8 o'clock game will be Creekside versus Dura Edge. That's going to be a game that you have your eye on, or ear on, so to speak, and might be one that you have on maybe in the dugout watching what's happening. Creekside right behind you, 10-4. When you look at them, you're plus 12 in runs against on them. You're 97 runs for and 22 runs against. How do you keep your guys absolutely motivated, not just on defense, but pitching, keeping them just pumping the zone?
Well, pitching, it's real simple. These guys are just super competitive. So, when they hear Tim Baird goes out and throws 10 strikeouts, 5 innings, whatever, you know, we have a pitchers chat where it's just me and all the pitchers. So we give out stats every night, and they're like, "Well, I'm going to up you tonight. I'm going to up you tonight. I'm going to do better than you. I'm going to." So it's an internal competition with each other, and they thrive with each other, and they're so competitive that way. You know, it doesn't matter who they're facing or who who's out there. They want to go out there and get a win and do better than their guy that pitched last night.
When you're looking at a who's who on your roster, and you look down at the beginning of the year and you say, "Oh, okay, I've got this guy going D1, this guy going," and you go to whichever school they're going to. How do you have to level up your game, so to speak, in order to make sure that they take away a nugget of something with them, and this is a valuable experience for them?
Yeah, there's different ways you got to do that. The first thing is they know BS when they see it. That's the first thing. So if you're going at them in a way of, hey, you look good, you're doing a pretty good job, they don't want to hear anything else from you the rest of the year because they're not interested. You can't help them get a little bit better each time they go out there or help them fix them. They're going to tune you out and they ain't got nothing to say to you the rest of the year. I mean, that's just how the athletes are in general today that I've come across at least. So you have to be able to present or give them something that they can learn from you for.
So when you look at this year and how it started, how it's maintained, how it's progressed, is the excitement still there? I mean, this is a condensed season. We are literally 3 weeks away from being done. So when you look at that, it's kind of a happy, sad situation. You've got to keep these guys. You have a short time to work with them, and then all of a sudden we move into football. There's no tournaments to be had after the season. There's no NABF. There's no anything like this. I mean, for you, that has got to be like you've got to be on your game every single night that you show up at the ballpark, but you also have to keep your pitchers focused. My question to you is, what are some of the things when you go out, and I don't know it's a case-by-case basis, but what's maybe the funniest thing that you've ever experienced when you walked out to the mound and you saw your pitcher standing out there and your catcher standing there? What are some of the funnier experiences that you've had?
It's got to be Joey Carrasco. He literally talks to himself out there on the mound. So sometimes you think he's like in trouble, but he's literally going crazy on himself. So you walk out there and I'll go out there and say, "Hey, what's up?" And he's talking. He's not talking to me. He's talking to himself. And I think it was Connor Miller was our catcher at the time. I came out for a mound visit, and Connor's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "Is he talking to you?" No. He's just having a whole conversation with himself. I'm like, "All right, good work. Let's get back out there. Let's go." And just walking back to the dugout. And he strikes out the next guy. So Pletcher goes, "Hey, it must have been a good visit." I don't know. He was having a conversation with himself when I got out there.
It's like Bull Durham.
It is Bull Durham.
He's crazy. He's our crazy though. So you gotta love him anyway.
So pitchers are, you said it, pitchers are a different breed. They're kind of out there the majority of the times. How do you kind of take all these personalities and just bring them together and have them all march one way?
Well, you play off of what the competitive card. That's the big one. There's, hey, I used to do it with Logan Bell all the time last year. So-and-so went out there and, what? So you play off of that a little bit because they all know each other. They're all friends with each other. They all have heard of each other. This is a different world, social media world. We get a guy like Calvin Bickerstaff, and Andrew Russell played with them 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, he helped us bring him onto the team, and now it's, hey, Calvin threw 10 Ks, 2 hits last night. What? Okay, I'm out tomorrow, right, Coach? Yep.
So the competitive balance, that's what you need to control.
That's the biggest one, and then the other one is give them respect, listen to what they want to do and how they want to do it. When a kid, I give a kid the option of, hey, how many pitches are you ready to throw tonight? And then some kids are, hey, I'm still at that 50 mark. And you respect it, you hit it hard. So when that 50 mark comes up, you go and take them out, and they appreciate that later down the road. And then they'll keep coming back to pitch for you because they can trust you to handle them with care. And then some kids want to, like Calvin, hey, I'm coach. I'm ready to throw 190 if you need me. Well, you're not going to throw 190 today. You're going to throw, let's say 85 is going to be our max. Okay, let's go. And then if he goes a little over, you let him finish the guy, and you always explain to him like, hey, we pulled you out because you're a little at my pitching count.
Oh, I love it. All right, the last question I have for you, a little game we play internally at YSN from the announcer standpoint. Since you have the announcer sitting right between us, let's pick a word that you want to be used in the broadcast tonight during one of your pitchers, and Richie has to use it. If Richie does not use it, he has to throw a couple bucks into the pot. So Richie's going to write this down so that way he can utilize it. But it's all on you, Mac. What word would you like to use during tonight's broadcast? It's kind of like Pee Wee's Playhouse in a way.
It's a man. I don't even know.
It can be completely off the wall.
Oh, let's go. Looking around the room here. Dre Beats.
Dre Beats. So a free plug for Dre is going to be in the broadcast tonight. So Richie's going to have to work in Dre Beats.
Like Dr. Dre Beats?
Yeah, like the headphones.
Like the red Beats? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's where he got it. He had his Beats on right in front of him. So I was waiting for like autonomous or hippopotamus.
I was thinking like something crazy.
Also, Richie, because I said so, you have to work in hippopotamus.
I'll try that one.
See, that's where you get them, Billy. You gotta
That's
things
true.
that you're not gonna see on a baseball field, and then they've got to work it in. So hippopotamus and Dre Beats tonight on YSN. Guys, thank you so much for making this super successful. We've had some great reactions from social media. Tomorrow at 3:00. Hopefully you guys can join us. Tristan is still getting his haircut. Who knows what that's going to look like whenever he comes out of there. So hopefully, yeah, we don't have to worry about that so much anymore, do we, cuz? So Richie's still got that good hair, that good flow coming out. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the Power Hour. We thank our sponsors. We thank the people that have tuned in. And obviously, we thank our guest today, Richie Giuliano, as well as Billy McCartney from Max Baseball Academy. Check him out. And Tristan Reynolds. We will have more tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on YSN. See you later.